All right, today we're diving into a story that, well, you're probably not going to find it in your standard Bible. It's from the Book of Melchizedek, and trust me, it's an absolute epic. We're talking about creation, a full-blown war among angels, and how this massive cosmic conflict ended up finding a brand new battlefield right inside the human heart.
So get this, our story doesn't start with a big bang. It starts in the silence before the beginning. Before anything existed. The text paints this incredible picture of just pure potential, a time when the whole universe was just a thought, a realm of absolute perfect light and harmony. Okay, so we're going to break this epic down into four main parts. We'll start with the kingdom of light, then see how it all went wrong with the first rebellion. After that, the fight moves to Earth in humanity's test, and finally, it gets really personal with a brother's betrayal. Let's jump in. So let's set the scene. Before time, before stars, before anything we can even imagine. This text describes heaven as this perfect world made of pure light. And right at its center, you've got the sacred Mount Zion, the very throne of the universe. The whole kingdom was built on love and perfect harmony. And in this flawless, perfect kingdom, we meet our first major player. The narrative introduces a being called Lucifer, the light bearer. And he wasn't just an angel, he was the firstborn of all angels. This guy was created to be the absolute model of perfection, the most glorious, most honorable creature in all of existence. So how does something so perfect just break? Well, what's fascinating here is that the first conflict doesn't come from some invading army or outside force. No, it starts from within. It begins with a choice, an idea that bubbles up from inside the supposedly perfect system. Right, so the story suggests that for freedom to be real, there has to be a test of loyalty. And for the angels, this test was all about something called the abyss of darkness. It was this unknown realm, totally hidden from them, beyond their kingdom of light. And it really represented a fundamental choice. Stay here in the light with the Creator, or go explore the unknown darkness. So how does the top angel, the most honored one, end up falling? The text breaks it down for us. First, it starts with just curiosity. Lucifer gets curious about this hidden abyss. Then that curiosity develops into a whole new philosophy he calls the knowledge of good and evil. This idea that to be truly complete, you need to embrace both light and darkness. He starts secretly talking to other angels, getting them on board with his thinking. And before you know it, he's leading an all-out rebellion to try and take the throne of the universe for himself. And we're not talking about some fringe movement here. His ideas were incredibly persuasive. So persuasive, in fact, that it caused this massive split in heaven. According to the text, Lucifer managed to convince a full 1/3 of all the angels to join him. Just imagine that. The heavens were literally torn in two. Well, this rebellion kicks off a celestial war. It's huge. The text says after one last emotional appeal from the Creator, the rebels are cast out. And this is a huge turning point, marked by a name change. Lucifer, the light bearer, is no more. He's renamed Satan, which the text tells us means the enemy. And just like that, the story's great villain is officially born. So the war in heaven is over, but the conflict? Oh, it's far from resolved. It just moves. The fundamental battle between these two big ideas, serving the light versus deciding for yourself what's good and evil, it finds a brand new stage, a whole new creation called Earth. And right at the center of this new world, we meet Adam and Eve. They're given this huge honor, this massive responsibility. Yeah, they're caretakers of the Garden of Eden, but their job is so much bigger than that. The text actually calls them the orbiters of creation. Think about that. It means their choice, their single act of loyalty, is going to decide the fate of the entire universe. No pressure, right? So now it's humanity's turn to face a test, just like the angels did. But for them, it's not some mysterious abyss. Their choice is symbolized by two trees. On one hand, you have the tree of life, which is all about staying connected to the Creator. But on the other hand, you have the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And yep, you guessed it. It represents the exact same philosophy that Satan pitched back in heaven. The idea that you can seize the power to define good and evil for yourself. So the stage is set for what is really the pivotal moment of this entire story. The conflict is clear, the key players are on the board, the test is right in front of them. So, how does this perfect new paradise fall? Okay, the story breaks it down into three key moments. First, Satan shows up as a serpent. And he doesn't use force. He uses a really clever, cunning argument to get inside Eve's head. It plants this seed of doubt about the Creator's motives, and she eats the fruit. Now, when Adam finds out, the text says something really interesting. It says his love and loyalty for Eve are so strong that he makes a conscious decision to eat the fruit too, choosing to stand with his partner over his Creator. The consequence is immediate. They're exiled from the garden. But right here, in this moment of total failure, the story introduces this powerful new idea. To cover them, the Creator makes the very first animal sacrifice, an innocent lamb. And this act becomes a symbol, a promise that there's a future path to redemption, a way back, through the sacrifice of an innocent. So this cosmic conflict, right? It started in heaven, then it moved to the garden, and now it scales down to its most intimate setting yet. We're not talking about a test for all of humanity anymore. Now it's a battle raging inside the very first family. And this brings us to the very first sibling rivalry with Adam and Eve's sons, Cain and Abel. They both come to make an offering, but what they bring represents the two clashing philosophies of this whole story. Abel brings a lamb, basically saying, I get it. I need that substitute sacrifice you showed my parents. But Cain, he brings fruits and flowers, things from his own work. The text frames this as a symbol of self-reliance, of doing it his own way. Well, Abel's offering is accepted and Cain's is rejected. And Cain's reaction, it's not to ask, what did I do wrong? No, the text describes this explosion of negative emotions. He's consumed by jealousy for his brother, he's furious about being rejected, and he's got this burning conviction that he's been wronged, that it's all deeply unfair.
And that internal turmoil, it doesn't just stay inside his head. The story says that these feelings, the jealousy, the sense of injustice, they just fester and grow until they drive Cain to start plotting a, quote, terrible crime against his own brother. It's just a tragic setup for what's about to happen. And this really brings the whole epic to its core point, the great conflict. This battle between light and darkness, between humility and pride, it never actually ended. It just moved. The battleground is no longer the fields of heaven or the Garden of Eden. It's now inside the most intimate space imaginable, the human heart.
And that's really where this whole text leaves us. It takes this huge, epic, cosmic war and shrinks it all the way down into our own personal, internal experience. It leaves us with a really big question to think about. What does it truly mean for an epic celestial war to become an internal human struggle?